All right, good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Wave meteorologist Brian Good. Hope you got some rest last night. Some of you probably sleep a lot easier with rain, not so much with the lightning and thunder that we had in the area last night, especially if you have a dog. That is always a bit of a challenge, right? But a good soaking rain that we had. No severe weather last night. It was just a soaking rain that came through. That is ending. So now we look ahead to two other potential setups involving thunderstorms, all that will evolve in the next 36 hours. So I'll try to explain this the best I can, and just keep in mind it's going to likely keep changing. As always, you guys can ask any questions if you would like on our streaming part of the services, the social media side, Facebook, Twitter, as well as YouTube. However, I do ask if you can, let me try to explain as much as I possibly can, and then I'll reassure you guys, as I always try to do. And then if I haven't answered your question at that point, I would try toward the end. Okay, fair enough. All right. So let's get right to it. I see a lot of your comments. Everybody signing on. So let's dive right into the first setup, which will involve this afternoon and into today. First off, out there at the moment, well, there's not a lot of sun. We've seen patchy areas of sun. We will get some decent amounts of blue sky though here today. So don't think this is it. This is going to be the storyline today. It won't be. But certainly at the moment, it is mainly cloudy over the city of Louisville. Let's get into the radar view. Well, actually, I'm going to show you the rain totals, then we'll get into the radar view. This is the rainfall totals from our Kentucky Mesonet sites. Louisville on there from Ali National, a little more than 0.3 of an inch. The common theme was fairly solid, quarter to half inch, some above that half-inch mark. I didn't see anybody that hit the 1 inch mark. Everybody was under 1 inch, but still, it was a decent amount, especially when it flared up roughly in the 5 to 6 o'clock window in the eastern side of Jefferson counties, where I really noticed the totals started to ramp up. And you can really see that here into the Metro and the MSD gauges, where you got several 0.6 of an inch of amount, which is what I got. I got a little more than that, actually, about, I think, 0.66 at my house. And I'm in southern Jefferson County. So it was a very healthy downpour that really developed right over the house there. So they kicked up some lightning and thunder. Dobie and Dandy loved it. But you didn't see that flare up so much to areas in downtown and to the northwest as much. Your totals were a little bit less. Either way, it's enough to guarantee for sure they're going to be doing a lot of mowing as we get into this weekend. And we got more rain that will be coming our way. All right, the current band of rain is now east of us in the eastern areas of Kentucky. I mentioned the cloud cover. That, again, is kind of broken and scattered in the area. So we'll get some sunshine. It's going to be another warm day. I mean, we're back into the 80s again for this afternoon. So this has been a very interesting stretch of warm weather. I would love to say I wish this was Derby week and we were getting 80-degree weather, but you see the problems. You get that warm this time of year, you got to deal with severe weather. So you really want it to be as close to the 60s and 70s as you can to try to tame down that threat, especially when you have so many events going on. And I know we got a big one coming up on Saturday that we'll talk about, but the idea it's going to get cooler this weekend should give you a clue of how that's going to play out. All right, so you got the first batch of rain moving to the east. So what's the ordeal with how this will play out later today, and why we went from an alert day setup with this to letting go of the alert day? All about really timing more than anything. We knew there was going to be a dry punch of air, which I'm going to show you in a second, but it's a race against the clock. If it is too aggressive and moving in, that basically will choke a thunderstorm from even trying to develop. And if it even does have a chance to develop, it can't get very tall. So that limits the severe threat. And that is a very good thing in that sense, because there is plenty of wind shear in this setup here today in the Ohio River Valley that we would get damaging winds. We would get tornadoes that can develop. So this change is not a bad thing. I'm always glad to talk about an improving scenario versus one that's getting worse, right? I feel like I'm always saying bad things are about to happen or getting worse, the gloom and doom kind of thing. So it's nice to be the other side of the envelope until about 4 minutes from now when I do talk about gloom and doom. Here's the outlook from the Storm Prediction Center. They moved the slight risk out of here yesterday. It's into Ohio. That's basically where your path is for the low pressure itself. It's moving. You saw it there on the spin on the satellite, moving right in the Great Lakes. So that's where you've got your best ability of turning. But the dry air doesn't necessarily cut with the low. It cuts underneath the low with the front, and that's pushing in underneath that into areas on the southern flank. And that's the reason why, again, there has been a reduction in storm coverage But still, when you look at the parameters, they still got the tornado potential around Cincinnati, certainly a little more elevated as you head toward Columbus, Ohio. But we do not have the tornado potential really once you get into our counties. And it's right up against us, but does not include any of our counties officially. But I'm splitting hairs at this point. Your damage and wind potential, we're still in it, and we're still in the hail potential. And the reason for that, as I mentioned, is a race against the clock on that dry punch of air moving in to prevent any storm chance. But if even the smaller ones can form, they can produce some gusty winds and hail, but the tornado potential is going to be reduced greatly. Let me show you an example. This is plotting the futurecast. You're looking at the radar. These are not temperatures. These are the dew points. And then you've got a coloration of the green behind that, indicating the dew point or the moisture that we have in the air. The best way to describe dew points, when we show that a lot on TV, and this is a very quick sketch version of that, as you guys know, as you go up, it gets colder, typically. It gets colder from the ground up, right? Well, we have a point where clouds form, and we go by that on a dew point basis many times. So if the current temperature outside this afternoon is going to be roughly right around 84 degrees, you go up until you hit whatever the dew point is, and that is where the bottom of the cloud can at least develop at that level. And the higher those bases are, you're cutting down your severe potential, but you certainly cut down the tornado potential. So when your temperature and your dew point numbers, when those two numbers get further apart, the air is getting drier. When they get close together, you're getting very, very saturated. And if they match exactly, it's either raining outside, or in many cases around here, we've got fog or a cloud base that forms on the ground because the numbers are exactly the same. All right, there's your science set up today. So the dew point is one way we're going to be tracking this today because we're in the 60s now. At 2 o'clock, you already see what's happening in Jasper. The dew point drops to 49. Those cloud bases get higher. But still got some 60-degree dew points as you head into areas east of 65. But we need heating at this point. So you got to have the moisture, you got to have heating. Right when we get into the max heating of the day, we'll be roughly around that 5, 6 o'clock window. But the dew points continue to fall. Louisville dropping down into the 40s at this point into the afternoon with temperatures into the 80s. So that's nearly a 40-degree difference. That, again, is what limits the thunderstorm potential. Why is the storm chance still in the forecast overall? Well, models are not going to get this exactly right. There are some fluctuations that can happen. So we're trying to account for the idea that one or two could still form right in the 50-degree dew point area. You can still get thunderstorms in a 50-degree dew point. You rarely get severe at that level, but you can get thunderstorms to form. But this is a snapshot of 5:30. These numbers would actually continue to fall. So I would say if you're south and east of Louisville, that potential is still there. Small thunderstorm chance. Indiana, you're out of it. I just don't see it happening. Your dew points are going to fall fairly quick here soon. But for those of you, especially Dare County, watch what happens with the Dare County. You guys, you actually try to even go up slightly later on tonight, which is a sign of the next system that's rolling in. So Adair, you may be the only ones that will hold on to the storm chance for the entire afternoon and evening until that lower dew point kicks in. But that's the main reason for it. So again, storm chance is very, very low. If they do pop, they can produce some small hail and some gusty winds. But your tornado potential is, I wouldn't say all the way off the table, but it's basically is because that's the way the trend has been going in the past 12 to 18 hours, and we can't ignore that, right? So we're not going to have an alert going on, a setup that the data is overwhelmingly against than for. All right, type 1, if you understood all that, you're good on this afternoon. And while you're doing that, I'll take care of the spammer. Well, they always come under. All right, hold on 1 second. All right, see you later. Nice visiting. Have a good day. Good luck in your sales. Okay, everyone looks good? All right. So easy peasy, right? So we get a nice little day to enjoy some 80s without any weather drama. That's always a plus. I like that. So what about tomorrow? Well, we don't have a lot of time to rest because after this dry punch moves in, we already have another system that is going to be rolling in off the Rockies, and it's going to be cutting basically right across the Ozarks and then tracking generally into central Kentucky, into parts of southern Ohio as we head into late tomorrow night. Because of timing, again, the heat of the day tomorrow will be roughly in this spot here is where the heating of the day will be taking place. So that's where you're going to have your best fuel that will take place as far as thunderstorms. As typically the case for us, by the time it gets here, we're already likely past sunset, so we're already into the weakening setup on the thunderstorm chance. But while that's usually a golden rule to use, it isn't always locked in, because sometimes these systems move so fast, the weakening process is slower than we want, and we end up with severe weather going further east than you normally would expect it. This is one of those scenarios where I do think that is indeed possible. Here is the outlook from the Storm Prediction Center. What they've done is two different areas are split. And this is mainly because of moisture more than anything. Is why they've got the slight risk out for Texas. And the reason why the slight risk is out for the Mississippi and the Ohio River connecting point there is because ahead of the actual low itself. And yes, it's right into our county. It's just our western side, does not officially include Louisville. My gut feeling on this will be updated at 1:30 today, based on some of that I've seen so far. Now, not all of it's in. I got to look at more of it since I'm done with you guys here in a second to get ready for midday. But it wouldn't surprise me there was a little bit more of a jog east on the slight to account for this. This does not look to be a major ordeal, but I do think this has potential to be quite noisy and quite impactful as far as having just a relatively quiet, very warm day. We could get up there rivaling that 88-degree high we had the other day. We could get up there again tomorrow. So it's going to be another very warm summer day, and then drastically it will change because this is going to be moving in fairly quick. So that's the difference on the impact, I think, that we're looking at for this one. So once I go through the midday data, we'll all discuss it. Very good chance that we're going to be going with an alert day for Thursday for this setup. Breaking down the parameters from the Storm Prediction Center, there is a tornado threat. I'll show you the areas that we'll be watching for that. It's a low-end threat, a little higher ahead of the low. Again, mainly, but placement is mainly just for the idea that it's the core heating of the day more than anything. Your damage wind potential, they do extend that for that idea of a slow weakening process. So they extend it all the way past Lexington. And the hail threat, same ordeal. I think the hail threat will also get at least the next stage up, which is 15%. I do think that will extend a little more toward our counties as well with the new update coming in based on the data I've seen so far. So what is this all going to look like? Here's what we're going to do. Pay attention to the clock in the top left. We're going to do this hour by hour. As we head into Thursday morning, midday, again, you're going to be excited because it's going to be another July day in wave country without a lot of humidity, right? We get into the 80s. The model says 80 degrees. We're going to be way warmer than that, way warmer than that. All right, you already see the problem. We get to about 8 o'clock. Now we're getting the line of storms that will be approaching from the west. There is likely going to be two different areas that may likely form across Illinois and into northeast areas of Arkansas and Missouri. If the two areas can connect, I think we'll face more than anything, there will be a straight line damaging wind threat that would approach from between Evansville and Louisville. If the line itself can become a little more disjointed, your damaging wind threat will go down. It's mainly heavy rain and hail, and actually that would be in favor of us seeing a reduced severe threat. So how that evolves and develops tomorrow afternoon, that's still a tough part we can't answer until we get into tomorrow. But I can tell you that what the dangers are of either scenario based on what we're seeing so far. This particular model run is, you're looking at the HER model, by the way, which is a convective model that we use. It likes the idea of trying to allow these to be a little more joined as they move in. We get to about sunset. I think sunset is a fair time to be paying attention. We should already see the cloud cover should have already arrived by sunset. It should be overcast, already getting maybe some dark skies for those of you in our western counties. The storms then approach as we head between, I would say, roughly 9 p.m. to the midnight hour as they move in. They will begin to weaken. Along this line, there will be cases of hail, and there could be some damaging winds. If there is any type of bowing segment, that's where you get your straight line winds. And if you get a little kink or a wiggle in the line, that's where you can get a quick spin up. I know everyone's going to ask about the tornado question. This is not a tornado setup that would feature supercells and large tornadoes. This is a setup for spin ups to be embedded within a line. That's going to be the most common thing. And still, that looks to be mainly for Illinois. West Kentucky, I think, isn't I don't want to say a good spot, but in a bad spot, if you will, to get perhaps a few of those. For us, I think it's going to be more damaging winds, hail, and heavy rain, which is not anything major, but it's certainly impactful. And then it moves on by. And this is going to be very heavy rainfall moving through. I think this easily can produce some severe thunderstorm warnings. Can we get a tornado warning out of this? Yes, it's certainly possible. Again, because of the spin up potential on that. Those are very difficult, as you guys know, from living here, being here for a long time. You know that that's our most common type of tornado that we have, are the ones that are embedded in lines of thunderstorms. We have to rely on the radar more than anything to detect them, because they're very difficult to spot because they're surrounded by rain on either side. And we'll be in the darkness of night, right? So if you have dinner plans tomorrow, make them early, and then get ready for what looks to be a stormy mid to late evening. Our 11 o'clock news is probably going to be busy with showers and storms. And this could easily put down a good 1 to at least a solid inch of rain, maybe an inch and a half of rain. So there could be some localized flooding issues as it passes on by. And then we'll calm things down, and we're out of that as we head into early on Friday. So there you go. That's the severe risk for tomorrow night. Again, right now, Missouri, Illinois, West Kentucky, even Southwest Indiana, because of timing of day, are more at risk. We will get a weakening phase, but at the moment, it appears the weakening will be slow enough that I do think we'll get some impacts into our counties here into wave country, and therefore an alert day is likely. We haven't issued it yet, but it's trending that way. The midday data is coming in now, and I think that'll be kind of the deciding factor on that one. All right, so any questions I can try to answer on this? Let's talk garden time. Yeah, I know. I finally got some of my stuff taken care of. I haven't planted anything yet, obviously, because as you're going to see in a second, we do have some cool shots of air. I don't see a frost right now showing up in the extended, but I don't see a whole lot of warm air either. This stretch of 80s, soak it up. I do not see anything like this again, likely until after Mother's Day, maybe even a bit longer. So this unusual warmth is not here to stay. We've got one more day tomorrow with it. Let's see. Nathan, tell the weather gods to stop doing this in the middle of the night. I'm working on that. I have wrote a very nasty worded letter. Brandon, are most of the models in agreement on timing? Yeah, actually they are. They are fairly strong agreement on it being that 8, 9 o'clock window through about midnight. There is going to be a bit of variance because it's not a perfectly straight line, of course. And while there is a chance for a few cells that could pop in advance of it, that's the only thing that would throw the timing off. I would see that more around Bowling Green to like Litchfield. If there was going to be anything to pop ahead of it, it would likely be there. And that would be in reaction to a wall of thunderstorms move at Illinois and to West Kentucky that produces a gust front or a cold pooling, and that could generate some cells that may pop ahead of it. That potential looks to be south and west of Louisville if we were to see any of those isolated cells. Otherwise, the main line itself, timing has been fairly solid on that, being around sunset to about midnight, which is good. That makes it a lot easier for us to do. Austin, can you talk to us about how this is going to affect the river for thunder? Yes, I will. We'll be covering thunder. I'll show you some data on that here in just a second. The Great Lawn is not going to be all the way underwater, but part of it already is. Okay. James, let me catch your question, then I'll get into that outlook. Storm potential for tornadoes tomorrow night. Yes, quick spin-ups possible, but it is not a high tornado threat, as this is not looking to be a supercell kind of ordeal. This is we love to call them line echo wave patterns or loops, where you get the little wiggles in the line for a potential for a spin up. All right, let me get into the thunder outlook. By the way, tomorrow, because of the clouds and the rain early in the morning, I don't know if the ceiling is going to be lifting high enough to get the practice air show in. For those of you that love our own personal Thunder over Louisville on Fridays, they could do it today. I feel like they've done it before on a Thursday, but I could be wrong. Right now, the clouds are a little low, but as we get closer to lunchtime, they should break up a bit. But tomorrow, the cloud bases will start to improve. They may be able to get some practicing in, but I don't know if they'll be able to practice everything they want to. But we will have a gradual improving setup, which leads us into Thunder over Louisville, where the front will be settled to our south. All the severe weather away to the south. We're not worried about severe weather at all this weekend. The issue we got this weekend is there will be kind of lines or striations of clouds that will be kind of in a horizontal fashion scattered across I-70, I-64 down to I-40. In between those lines, there will be some blue sky, and in other areas, there will be a mid to high cloud deck. And it'll kind of fluctuate back and forth across Indiana and Kentucky throughout Saturday. So at times, you'll have some sunshine to warm you up, and then you'll get a little batch of clouds, and that wind will ramp up, and it'll chill you down quite a bit. So temperatures look like they'll be in the 60s in general for the region. I would still dress for the 50s to account for that cool wind, and the wind will be coming in from Indiana, FYI, but dress for a cool wind. And then if you have to take the jacket off for a moment, if you get a little bit of sun that warms you up, then you can do that. It's a lot harder to go the other way and not have a jacket to put on if you're chilly. So prepare the other way and you'll be fine. But do not see rain at all, which is good. The Ohio River right now is approaching action stage. It's not forecast to get to that level yet, but it's will all depend on how much rain we get tonight. If we end up with higher than certainly 1 inch of rainfall, that could cause a bit of a skewing on the Ohio, and it could get to action stage. The benches right now in the front row, I thought I had a camera up, but I don't have access at the moment. But the benches along the front row there of the Great Lawn are underwater, even though it's not technically at a flood stage. The benches always seem to go under first there. And the river is running fast. So that is going to be a bit of a challenge for the barges. They have been through this before, so they're professionals at that, but that will be something that may limit some of the boat traffic. For those of you that want to watch on your boat, that may be limited. Stay tuned. They'll be announcing that, I'm sure, if that's the case, just because with a fast-moving river like that, you can't have too many boats out there. There's too much of a risk of a collision. And the barges, of course, when they roll out, they've got to make sure they're anchored down good. For the show. And I'm hoping the wind should really relax into the evening, so I don't see an issue for the drones into the evening. Drones are way more sensitive than the fireworks are, of course. And right now, I think that we should be in good shape with that, which is good. And then next week, there's that cold pocket. Look at that, Sunday into Monday. Again, I don't see a frost level yet, but I'm watching it. I do think we could get some like 38, 39s into the area. And we got another front that'll drop down the middle of next week, and then maybe another one the following weekend. Again, these keep the severe threat down. There's not a ton of rain with these fronts, but they keep knocking the temperatures into check to where we can't get back into the 80s at all. Okay. Brandon, thanks for all you do. Yeah, I understand the anxiety. I totally get that, especially as of late, right, Brandon? It's been nonstop, it seems like. So we need we're getting a bit of a break cut on us today, and I'm hoping that we can tomorrow. But I do think tomorrow, low end of the range of possibilities, it'll be a busy mid to late evening, a lot of heavy rain, a lot of thunder, messy travel in that sense. So it's going to be a fairly impactful round of rain and thunderstorms. On the higher end of the scope, we get severe thunderstorm warnings and maybe 1 or 2 tornado warnings that could be embedded in that line. So that's kind of what we're looking at. I don't see it coming through quietly like the one today is able to do. That trend is not showing up. It's going the other way, actually. It's becoming more active. So I'm hoping that may reverse, but it's unlikely. All right, guys, I got to get running. It's already 10 after 10. Sorry about that. A little late getting on here today, trying to take care of a few things. But I want to at least make sure to touch base with you guys about where we stand with the storm setup today. And, of course, don't be surprised if we declare the alert day coming up for tomorrow. I do think that is likely. Okay, so let me look over the data. I'll be on midday, and we'll see you guys throughout the day. Stay tuned here on the Wave Weather app, as that's one of the first places we update as well. Take care, guys.